Hi, my name is Lieke. I am a Dutch fine art photographer and I've been doing self-portraiture for the last decade. And I've been getting a lot of questions lately about how I do my self-portraits. So I thought I'd create a video and share with you how I create mine and the best tips and tricks that you can use to do your self-portraits. So let's get on it, and here's tip number one. Number one is to invest in a good and sturdy tripod. I do a lot of outdoorsy and nature self-portraits, and so I get exposed to the elements and wind and stuff. And you don't want to get your tripod with your camera on it to get blown off a cliff, into the ocean, or wherever you're shooting. So invest in a good and sturdy tripod. That's my advice. Tip number two is to invest in a remote. Your camera has a timer, which in my case is a 10-second timer or a 2-second timer, and you can use that for self-portraiture. I've done it for years, using the 10-second timer, focus on something, then run into the shot and run back to the camera. But it's a hassle, going back and forth, checking if the focus is right, checking if you like the pose, going back. So a remote solves that problem. Another feature that a lot of cameras have nowadays is the Wi-Fi function, and that connects to an app on your phone, so you can use your phone as the remote, which is an even better solution. Tip number three is about locking your focus. The question I get asked the most is about how do you focus on yourself when you're just you and you have no one else with you. Because if you have a friend with you, I would say ask if they want to stand in, you can focus on them, and then trade places. So what I do if I have a friend, I'll put the focus on them, I'll mark the ground, I'll put a stick there, or I'll mark it in the sand if it's some soil that I can write in, and then I lock my focus. So if I have the focus right, it's in automatic focus, then I'll switch to manual so my focus doesn't shift. So every photo that I take is going to be focused on the same spot. If you do not have a friend with you, but you do have a second tripod like I do, I put the tripod in the place where I want to stand. So I lock my focus again and then I get into the shot. If you don't have a second tripod, use anything that you can put on the same height as yourself and put the focus on that. And remember to lock your focus, because otherwise if you use the 10-second timer, you walk back, you push the button, the focus is going to shift. Tip number four that I'm going to give you is that gear is a little overrated. She said it. You don't really need fancy equipment to take good photographs. It helps, of course. But if you have the most expensive equipment in the world, but you don't have the eye, you're still going to get pictures that are like, man. So if you have the money, you can invest in all the great equipment, but if you don't, I mean, I shot most of my self-portraits with the plastic Fantastic lens. I mean, it's the cheapest lens there is. It's the 50mm 1.8, and I know that this is one of the most favorite lenses of, I think, almost every self-portrait artist that I know out there. So if you don't really have a lot of money, invest in the 50mm 1.8 and you're good to go. The other equipment that I use for my portraiture, I'll list in the description below, so you have an idea of all the gear that I have. Let me tell you, it's not a lot, but I'll share with you anyway. Tip number five is more important if you do composite work like I do, if you want to combine several frames into one image. What I do is I like to expand my frame so I can print my images larger. So if I have my base image, you'll see me take photos of the sky, of the surroundings, of the floor, so I can add them on to make the image larger. And that is also good if you like a shallow depth of field. If you have the focus locked, then if you turn your camera up, down and sideways, those will be out of focus, so that gives a natural shallow depth of field, which I love in images because it gives a painterly feel as well, and that's something that I personally love in photography as well. And if you do composite work and you want to add in birds from this frame, and then maybe an umbrella from another frame, and then you like this pose from that image, and you want to combine all of those, then it's important that the settings don't change. So have your focus the same, but also have the ISO and your shutter speed, so it's believable. And the thing that you don't want is when you composite an image that someone says, that doesn't really look right. The best way to prevent that from happening is to have all the settings the same. So let's go on to tip number 6 which is think ahead, plan ahead. So think of what you want to create. What I do is I have a bunch of notebooks. I am a notorious notebook collector, as you might see from all of these. And the thing is that none of them are full. So I buy one, like this one I bought 2 years ago in Oregon, and I love it, but it's so pretty that I don't want to write in it, but I did, and then I find another one, and then I write in that, and then I have an idea for a series and I need a new one. So I don't know if you're familiar with that, but fellow notebook lovers, let me know in the comments if you're also a hoarder of notebooks. Back to the tip, because let me tell you, I cannot draw to save my life. Really, I can't. But it really helps to have your idea sketched out. And what I do next to having my idea sketched out is to write what it's about. So I get ideas all of the time and none of the time. So when I have an idea, I like to have a notebook ready with me so I can write it down if I am not in the availability to shoot it right away, which is most of the time that I'm not. So I write it down, and then if I plan a shoot, I have the idea, I have the mood, I have the feel that I want to portray, and so I have more of a plan ready when I go shooting. I'm almost never out to shoot without a pre-planned idea. Sometimes I do, because sometimes there's just a lack of inspiration and a lack of ideas and you still want to go shoot. And I encourage you to do that as well. Like if you have no idea what to do, just take your camera, like a few outfits, maybe a few props, and just go out to shoot and do something without the burden of having to create something epic. Because if you burden yourself with the stress of I have to create something amazing, it's not gonna happen, is it? It rarely is. So just go out and have fun. That's the most important thing that I can give you as a tip, is have fun, which is just a little side tip. Moving on to tip number 7 is to make use of symbolism and story. So what I do is that almost all of my images, they start from a feeling, a story, an emotion, something that I've been through, something that I have to channel into an image. That's the way that I work. I call myself a storytelling photographer, and my work is based off of story. I really want to make an image that tells something. And you don't have to see what I want you to see. You can choose your own story, and that's what I love about art, is that I create something with intent, but you can choose to see your own reality because you have a different view on the world than I do. And I love to hear stories that people see in my images that I hadn't seen before. That's just the beauty of art. So make use of story and symbolism as well. Symbolism can be found in anything around you. I love to see simple symbolism. Like in my images, I think that in the beginning stages I would put a lot of symbolism in my images, like butterflies and birds and dark skies, and then all of them into one image. And now what's most important to me is the story and keeping it simple. So like a book, you read from left to right, you also read an image from left to right. Or in some countries you read from right to left, but most people read from left to right. And that's also a symbol that you can use in photography if you are aware of it. Like if you have a looking direction to the left hand side, it means that you're looking towards the past, and if you look to the right hand side, it means that you're looking towards the future. So if you know about it, you can also channel it into a symbol that you can use in your photography. And then last but not least is tip number 8, is the use of props in your images. You can use anything for a prop. I've used a mask, I've used butterflies, I've used birds, I've used rope, I've used a lot of different things. I've used a glass dome. I really love my glass dome. There's a hair of Jack in my mouth. Continuing on. And then the thing that I love using most are dresses. I mean, I dress up for my images. I like to use flowy dresses so they capture the movement of the wind. You can use almost anything as a prop. I would challenge you to look at a day-to-day object. Give yourself like a minute, maybe 2 minutes to break through the barrier of this is just a glass. of water. I mean, it starts with, is it full or is it empty? And that can symbolize things in life, can't it? And then if you look at it, it changes if you have something in front of it or behind it. And of course you can always look through the, I'm not going to do that because there's water in it. But yeah, so things change if you look longer at it. So I would challenge you to do that. And I want to end this video with challenging you to do a self-portrait if you haven't already. I would love to see what you do and let me know if this video was useful to you. Give me a like and let me know in the comments if you've done self-portraits. I would love to see yours and hopefully see you next time on a new video. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.
Ik ken een madame in Zuid-Vlaanderen, naam is Lieke Anna. Ze maakt zo schone foto's, ja. De naam is Lieke Anna.